How we doing, everyone? Kevin back again with the Mind Masters podcast. So we're in season two. I'm not exactly sure where we are because it's been a minute since I've done these. So I've been a little bit occupied with some stuff which we're going to go into in this episode. And it'll all make sense why I've not really been putting a lot of things out. I've been doubled down on a particular goal in life. Um, I am joined by one of my closest friends, Levi Charlton, who is going to come in this in a second. Um, Levi and I met through a group that I founded called Fit Your Dads. Um, God, we have been friends actually in terms of life. Whatever it's been now, maybe 5 to 6 years in terms at the time, Fit Your Dads. He was one of the first guys who joined that group. For those who are listening, going, what's Fit Your Dads? 'Cause I know I've got some listeners from a bit further out. It's a group for men. It helps men, mental and physical difficulties, or just to make improvements. But ultimately, it helps guys level up. I think that's the kind of proudest thing. And in the time I've known Levi, him and I have leveled up significantly as men, no just in terms of being fitter, but like I have watched the things that both of us have done individually and collectively, man, it would blow your mind. We're going to go into that in terms of what would be the biggest thing that we have done so far. As I say, he's one of my closest friends. I trust him immensely. It's just it's a special bond. So Levi, welcome on to the Mind Masters podcast, mate.
Thanks very much. Is that you're right what you say? Yeah, it's about 6 years actually, and it's been a little bit of a journey, isn't it? It's been a constant build for 6 years, to be fair. Isn't it?
It's like you and I do a lot of elevation in my life, and this friendship. As long as the same way a lot of the other lads that we've got to know and stuff, it's been just like one big climb in it, climbing,
Yeah.
climbing, climbing. So this is the podcast will be aptly named A Story of Overcoming. So just to introduce in terms of that, it'll be a little bit of a different podcast episode from what you guys are used to, sort of. I will still have my sort of take and spin on things, and I hope to get the absolute raw, uncut version of the story from both Levi and me on this. So this podcast is really about we have both just completed the GB Ultras 220-mile, 30 odd thousand feet ultra marathon called the Race Across Scotland. What I will point out is we are both proud as fuck. I'll say that now on our behalf. So we are going to talk you through an unbelievable 2 year journey to get to this moment where we get to reflect back on how we got shit done. It was unbelievable. But it's easy just to talk about the highlight reel. Everyone knows that this is a mindset and mental health podcast. And I cannot wait to open the box in terms of the journey. We will go into very different topics around this whole thing. I've talked a lot recently just about, the importance of having tough things and tough times in your life and how much it teaches you. But this conversation is going to open the box on that because we both had a bumpy ride to get to this moment in terms of, as I say, getting shit done. So
Can I just say, look, Kev?
Yes,
It's been a fantastic journey and been an epic journey, right? It's definitely all your fault this time.
I know.
All your fault this
We're
time.
going to go there as well. I actually was thinking about this. I was thinking about the conversation when I sent you the race across because I was now thinking about doing it. I'd sort of started to sound the idea out, and then I went, well, I know who else is also really stupid like me. And I sent it across to you, and I think you replied back saying, "Oh, why have you done this?"
It was at that interval session on a Tuesday morning. There's just a little bird in my ear.
Oh, and there was also that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, race across Scotland 2 years ago. Let's go back. Let's start back there. You've got this lovely friend that points the direction of a 200 odd mile race that we had a bit of familiarity with because our coach, my brother, had done it, done particularly well in it. So yeah, where were you on your journey up to that point? Because it's not just as simple as, oh, I'm just going to do this and be really stupid about it. Where
No,
where,
it started
where were you up till that point in terms of your journey and this whole thing?
on like when it comes to about that part of it, mate. I'd already started building up the distances anyway, so we all started building up, and I think we were regularly doing the 30, 40, 50 mile ultras then. You know what I mean? The Highland Fling, that sort of stuff. Just building it up and trying to look further, and then trying to look further. When they come to the Southern Upland route or the race across Scotland, I don't think any of us. We went and watched Scott do it and all that sort of stuff. But I don't think any of us actually fully understood the route that we were going to take on, and especially the path of where it went, the elevation, and the sheer enormity of the distance. When you start training for things like that, and you start doing the mad, you've got to be fully committed. You've got to be fully committed each weekend for it. But when you start just dissecting it, it's quite overwhelming when you start putting it into the picture. It's but as I said, at that time, I think we were looking for just something special, just something special. I know you were looking for something special, and you just dragged me along.
Well, I don't remember you needing to be dragged, if I'm honest.
Breaking straight of a Kit Kat.
I think that's the thing about like-minded friends. I think you need to be there'll be probably a lot of kind of cheesy catchphrasey type things dropped in here, because I think this is living proof of that. I think that's the very first thing that I'll say, that I think if you surround yourself with people who not only inspire you to do more, but believe in you that you can do more. So what they're doing inspires you to do more. I mean, I will take that back. Probably when I'm asking you about your journey to that point, I think when we got in touch with you, when we first sort of got around you in fads, you were already doing things that none of us sort of had thought about. Like, you were the first person out of sort of the people that like we go about with that did the 1,000 miles in a year, which if you think back to that, that was like massive for us. Yeah, it's easy to go out and find like the elite guys and girls and all that were probably doing all that already. But for us, we were like 1,000 miles in a year, and we made a big deal about that and the fads and stuff. And we had a little kind of recognition thing. I remember it was at the Boxing Day thing. But my point is, there was already elements there that you had set the bar for us to rise to, and then we were then equally taking the torch in turns, right? Someone's then taking it a little bit further. I mean, we were joking about who in our little group who's done the furthest distance and stuff. And although that's funny, but what I don't think the guys at time realise, it's always pushing each other to the boundary. Yeah. Where is the boundary? Well, who decides? So I think there was an element there that we were all looking to see what was the next big thing. What I would say is it probably feels like we jumped a couple of stages. We just kind of went like, well, what's the biggest, right? Well, will it kill us? It won't kill us. So, well, if it can't kill you, then why no?
You've got to learn so much about your body, haven't you? You've got to learn so much about everything that you can do, and you can't look at somebody else and see what they do and try and copy them, because that just does not work at all. You've got to take your own journey. Even you and I, you know what I mean? We literally train the same. We're up at daft o'clock every morning. Do you know what I mean? We're out in the darkness. We're out in the light. It doesn't matter to us. It doesn't matter what weather it is. It's irrelevant. But we train the same, but we can't train the same, if that makes sense.
Yep.
We've just got to do our own journey. When you're saying about pushing yourselves, with the your dad starting on there, that was probably a place where I joined into, and obviously he asked me to be part of the admin, and it was a fantastic place to be. It was great for bringing even some of the people that we kick about with now on from couch to 5Ks, and the journey that we've brought them on, and then they've in turn pushed us. I think you see them all around Ayrshire, and you always get people who are actually tapping you up and saying, "Yeah, you're to blame or I'm to blame." We are to blame, but it's not to blame. It's to in a thankful way.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting what you just said there about because we've talked about this a lot, although everyone's doing, you know, similar things in terms of predominantly we're sort of into running and things like that. You have to have the mindset that you have to choose your goal for your reason. It has to be because you are aligned to that, and it brings something that, you know, I guess, well, 2 years ago, what's funny about this story for both of us is, like, I think when we both booked it, there's probably a case to present that, did I book it because I saw Scott doing it and I was so embroiled in Scott doing it, and I croon him, that I was just like almost in a trance by the idea of it. And then you booked it because I was saying, well, you should do this as well with me. But what then happened was, obviously what we're going to go into, was we were beginning that journey and preparing for it 2 years ago. Both of us had major physical setbacks, and then the fire really lit. I absolutely want this. And I think there was a moment for both of us where it was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then it was like, I am fucking doing this. Nothing's going to stop. And some of the conversations we had makes the hair stand up in my back of my neck. We were about
70% committed in the first time.
Absolutely. That's kind of what
it was no way. Personally, myself, I was never as committed as I was this time.
Yeah.
Never as committed.
Yeah.
Never so diligent with my training, so just focused on it, and nothing stopped. It doesn't matter. I mean, the work I do, I travel a lot. It was irrelevant.
Yeah.
I travelled with trainers. I travelled with kit. I travelled with my poles. That's it. And wherever I went, the training got done. And it was more so now, and obviously from the last time, and still carrying the injury at the beginning of the year, but I was working it, and I was utilising that injury to the best I could, and to try and get out of it. It's not what it stopped me doing, but what can I do?
Yeah,
that I've got. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant what's there. I can use something else, and I can train other parts. That's going to benefit us.
And I think that we'll come back to that part, because that for both of us would probably be, it's a huge mindset lesson in terms of how we both flipped everything, in terms of there was nothing, no obstacle was going to stop us. But so going back to the first year, so we're preparing for the race. Where does it go wrong? If you can explain to people, so what happens in terms of you, because you make the start line, I don't make it. So you make the start line, you're not, obviously I'm there crewing you, you're not right, but you're determined, you're giving it a fucking go. So tell us about that part first.
So we're doing our training as normal, and we started, we were strict, or I'd say we were as strict as we could be at that time for doing strength work as well.
Yeah.
Very key part of the training. So we're in the gym, and I was with yourself and Andy anyway in the gym, and we're doing will still remember it to this day. I was doing weighted front lunges. I went to the top of the gym, went down on my knee, felt a crack, and then just thought nothing of it. Thought I just landed awkwardly on it. Continued my training. Thought it was just a bit of a bruise on it, like, and then I noticed on the run up to the race, and I know myself, I was stupid as well, because I started making excuses saying I'm just going to rest my knee, and and if you're thinking about resting your knee before a 220 miler, there's something wrong. But in my head, it wasn't enough pain to say this. It's just a bruise that'll pass. But as we got closer and closer to the race, yeah, it's still. I just started using. I tried to find more and more different things to support me, like knee braces, that sort of stuff. Tie my knee up, just different things to see if it could just take because it wasn't a sharp pain where you can go, oh, I can't move on that. It was just a dull pain. It was just a constant dull pain. Anyway, we made the start, and I knew, you and I both know, looking at you, that you knew something was wrong with me, but I'm going to push on because it wasn't enough to stop us.
Yeah.
Started the race, and you know, anyway, like standing there on the start line, belting down the rain, and it rained the whole time I was there, right? Which doesn't really put a dampener on things with me, because I don't mind the rain. Do you know what I mean? But I was in that rain for 18 hours, right? And as we first set off, you go up the steps down a Pop Patrick, and then you come down onto the beach area. And just as we're going along the beach, I just felt my knee again. I'm going, this, and I was within the first 5K. Now, when you've got 354K to do, the first 5K is a bit damning to be starting to feel a pain. So anyway, come up, and I knew myself, because you know the first part when it's pretty flat and it's along the road. And I'm coming along the road and I'm getting overtaken by people, and I'm thinking, I should be at least moving a bit better than this, like, you know what I mean? So came into the first checkpoint down at where I met yourself and Andy and that, and then and Scott, and asked Scott to tie my knee up. So I was like, there's something wrong with this here. I cannot even get running. And even at that point, I was still determined to push on. So I did. I pushed on there, pushed along to Glentrool. And then just it's weird as well, because obviously we took you down to that part in Glentrool, so it's a difficult part, as I'll just say for the people listening in. So as you come into Glentrool, you come to a signpost that says Glentrool 1.25 miles away, but actually you take a right into the woods, and it's a 5-mile detour to get to that 1.25, which absolutely plays with your mind. And at that time, when we were coming around, there was a diversion on just coming out of Glentrool itself, to which I got lost. I couldn't even, things playing about on your mind, I couldn't even follow simple maps. I couldn't even follow simple directions. And it took, I think I was lost. I think I got lost twice, just in the first 45 miles. And then when I eventually did come into the village itself, and I sat down, and there's the picture, I think yourself or Andy has took the pictures while I'm sitting there having a pot noodle. And that's the point when you put your hand on my knee and you went, are you sure you're all right? Right? And I'm looking at you going, yeah. And I wasn't. I knew I wasn't.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, it is more of a commitment for myself and Andy coming out to cruise and all the stuff that we've went through over the past few months, and going, surely I can just push through this. Surely I can get through it. Do you know what I mean? These lads are giving up their weekends for me. Surely I can just push on through this. So, as you know, come out, projectile vomited my food all over the place. They didn't want to stay with us. Right? Still raining. But now we set off at 6 o'clock in the morning. This is 9 o'clock at night. Still raining. Been raining all day. Didn't let up. It was like a monsoon. Set off into the darkness. Got lost again. Went the wrong way again. I didn't even get out of the checkpoint, and I got lost. And you're like, going, where are you going? And I just could not think straight. I could not think straight. Eventually, started getting on the route. Started going the right way. It's absolutely pitch black, darkness. I think it was about 1 in the morning. I'm just going up this hill, and I'm proper feeling sorry for myself. Now, I've been all over the place in the world, done some crazy things, you know what I mean? But I've never been in such a dark place as this. Not darkness in just darkness outside, darkness within myself. I'm going up there, and I'm just such pain on my knee, and I'm thinking, I can't even, not even stretch my leg out or put my leg in. I can't do anything with it. And that's when a point when I called it a day and I went, I'm going, and I was 58 mile into the race. Called it a day, got brought back by the race director, Wayne Drinkwater, brought us back in there, met using Durai St. John's. And then, got in the cab, or got in the our camper van type thing. And I couldn't even lie down. I couldn't lie down, couldn't sit up because I couldn't do anything with my knee. Mm-hmm. So moving up, after we come back from there, I eventually got to the physio and then to an MRI scan, and I actually fractured my knee. I'd had a torn meniscus, and I'd a fractured kneecap from that day, and I'd been training on it. During the build up to the race, we had 2 40-mile runs. One of them was the short course of the Great Glen Ultra, and I'd done all of this with a fractured knee without even going on it, which I was gutted when I pulled out, right, because I put a lot of graft in. But I wasn't fully gutted, because I knew I shouldn't have started it in the first place.
Yeah.
And when I came home, I sat down. I was just sitting down looking out the window for about 2 days, and Hazel, my wife's like looking at us, and she knows something was wrong. Like, and I was like, I'm doing that again. And I just emailed the race team 2 days later, and I said, I know, because you've got to be invited to the things, you know what I mean? You've got to put your application and get invited. And they went, yeah, okay, that's fine. Because even when I was coming off, the director was at again, she looked fine. I went, I am. I just cannot move my kneecap. Mm-hmm. It's just painful. So the fire was lit then. Mm-hmm. The fire was lit then. See, that's 2 days after that it was then. I applied again. And it's like I said, it's a costly event. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, with all the stuff. If you're going to go into this event or into these sort of things, and people say it's running's quite a cheap hobby, it's not. It's not. The amount of stuff you've got to buy, training, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's a very costly races. But yeah, 2 days after that, then my plan of action got put into it. Contacted Sutton and said, I am doing this again. And that's when my 70% went to 110%.
That was the moment where the fact that it came alive, and you realised that this is indeed my number one goal.
That was it. It was it's just like a dial just getting switched up, saying everything gets pushed aside, focus. Because we do focusing goals every year, right? You know, and it's always been brilliant because you lay your plan of action out, you get in there, and I love it. I love the weekly and the monthly training and where you're getting to and all that sort of stuff. I love it out in the field with the guys, you know, and girls, and just getting up there in the mountains. Love all that sort of stuff, but you have to have a focus for it. Mm-hmm. And there was nothing else stopping it. That was my number one goal.
Love it, man. So to play catch up for you, to play catch up for me to get to you at that point, so my journey never made the start line, so I was then fully committed to crewing you. Again, we were training heavy. I developed significant foot pain to a point I just couldn't place the foot, and which resulted in, you know, got it scanned and needed surgery, and I had to admit straight away that, you know, I was out. Again, I think it's strange because I don't remember feeling devastated about Race Across Scotland at that moment. I remember feeling devastated that I was completely out of the group. People don't understand this part, like when you are like a little wolf pack kind of thing, and you're training hard and you're pushing, and you'll remember that day when I came into the gym and yous were all there, and I couldn't run, and yous were training well, and yous were and stuff, and yous are like that. It was Andy Taggart, I think it said, he's like, come on, and I went, I can't. Yous are gone. Yous are. I can't be in that setting because I don't have goals. So, like, my goal was to get myself back again. And I became relentlessly driven by trying to get myself. I mean, I was walking every day. I kept my healthy eating. I was sitting on that fucking rower every single day. I mean, I became obsessed with rowing. I mean, who does that? And it was strange because that would be I definitely went into a shell, but not in a like a terribly negative way. I had to go search within how will I get myself back on track? So my answer to that was tell you I'm crewing you. I'm going to be crewing you. That I needed to, I believe that if you're giving service to others, then that will give you just as much
Yeah.
satisfaction as doing the thing yourself. And I've got loads of evidence that that's true. So I was, on Team Charlton and we were moving towards that. But I remember the moment was when we got there to support you. I remember looking at Andy, who it was him and I went, I fucking really want to be here. I really want to be in this. And he went, oh, really? And I was like, I am, I am so here next year. And this is it. And it just flipped. Just seeing you in there, knowing that I should have been in there. I mean, as you just talked about, we would then learn how it would unfold and stuff, and then how both of us would then become in this massive journey to get back. But yeah, it was mad because I think I was only just really walking about and stuff like that. I think I was maybe tried a run or something at that point, or maybe not. Because in September time, which would be after Race Across Scotland, I managed to go and do my first sort of wee small race up at Kinloch Leaving.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of the smaller ones, and that was a big milestone. But by then, I had decided next year, you are now committed to next year. I was now committed to next year, and both of us were like, boom, senses turned right up, and the chat had really changed that 2024 Race Across Scotland, no matter what, was getting absolutely smashed. And it was a really cool moment.
Do you know what? It's a strange thing as well, because I remember you coming in the gym, right? And obviously you're not mind the scene. It's like you looked lost.
Yeah.
You look when we were training, you come in, you sat in the row machine, you looked lost, you looked as though you didn't want to be there, but you knew you had to be there for your own sanity. Now, when I looked at your face there, right? Fast forward a couple of months later, and I'm in the same position. I'm coming in the gym and I'm lost.
Yeah.
and I just clicked on it and went, oh my God, this is depressing. Do you know what I mean? But you know you have to be there because you know you have to do it. You know you have to do your training session. It's so
Like,
weird.
it's interesting. It's interesting because I remember and I know this is big for you, but I remember when you were out walking the dogs and you met Andy and I out running. So I'm now back running. You're now laid up, if you like, but you're walking with the dogs, and then it flipped a tape because you weren't able to get in the training with us. And I remember that morning we met you, and like as we kind of came away from you, it kind of was like a real sinking feeling because I knew what you had felt at that moment. That you can't, as men, we probably try and bury these things, like we try and bury them deep. We don't want to kind of say that, like you say, I'm feeling lost, I feel sad, I feel miserable. But like, because it had just been me, I was like, oh, that would have hurt. That would have hurt. You just walked right into us and we're out full of the chat and, and I'll never forget that because it was, it was still so real. But at the same time, I said to Andy as we ran away, I was like, I understand exactly where he is, and this morning will fuel him. It will absolutely fuel him.
And that's the thing, is like, so the group, there's about seven of us, 8 of us in our little group, right? And it does feel like a chink of armor, right? So when somebody's not operating at their full speed, you feel for them.
Yeah.
The day, even though it's a group of men, I mean, 30 years ago, something like, would never had that same feelings that us. It's a group of men when somebody's not like when one of the guys goes quiet, you're like, going, what's happening here? Why are you quiet? Tell us about it. You know what I mean? That sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what brings it up. As I said, watching you come in the gym, you can have gone, yeah, he's definitely not. He's here by body and soul. He's not fully committed in there. It's just what they get. And the same, I remember this. Remember when I bumped into the Perriers? For the kickoff, Andy was scared of my dogs. He thought it was a deer. Yeah, like, and then when you went away, yeah, I was one of them going. But then I was committed to I was going out, I was walking, you know what I mean. So yeah, we went
So,
through them dark souls.
so 2024, let's trans forward a bit, you know, into your back training. We're both, you know, we're both sort of starting to, you know, we're into a new year. We're thinking about the big one, the number one goal. So how does the year go in? How's the body and the mind as you sort of take yourself through?
Well, I finished the year off. I didn't run for the end of 2023. So the last 3 months I just walked. I utilised the time by walking on the route I was going to run. Going at 1 in the morning, 2, didn't matter. Right, I went across there, and by the end of it, I'd actually wrecked the whole route. I'd been out with my dogs, I'd been out by myself, just doing it. And most of the training that I did up until for then and 2024, I kind of done most of it myself as well, because I knew that this race was going to be a solo in your head type thing. Come into the first 3 months, I can then start running. I got the go ahead to start running for the January, February, March. So I started introducing a little bit of running. And then the next 3 months after that, I was fortunate enough to get into the West Island Way. So that was another goal of mine. But again, it was never going to be my A game. And I know it's a A game for a lot of people. And it's a tough race to get in and to complete. But to me, it was a bonus that I got in, because then I could use it as a leapfrog to this big one. So the second for the second quarter of the year, I was actually in a really strong place where I'd, in memory of one of our good friends who walked the West Island Way. So walked it. Then a month later, I was in a fortunate place to run it. And my goal was to run the West Island Way, finish it with the strength for me to say I can turn around and go back. And that's exactly where I was. That there, finishing in, coming in across that line when Andy's video on us, right, I was in that position. I'm going, I could absolutely turn around and run the 96 mile back the way.
Yeah.
And that's where I wanted to be. And I was so trying to give me a right boost. Listen, don't get me wrong, they weren't all happy-go-lucky training runs. I mean, I'd been out on that Southern Upland route, and you fling the poles down, you're going, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? At 2 o'clock in the morning, I was back down at Glen Trule trying to suss out that place of where it went wrong. Throw your poles down. I'm sitting down there. I'm actually just sitting on the dark in the middle of the night, just going, what am I doing? What are you doing? Do you know what I mean? This is where you are. And then you give yourself a shake and you just get up and you start getting into it. But you're going through some bouts of not depression, but like some really, really lows. And especially when I've chosen to train alone, right? I've chosen to run at my pace. I've chosen to do that. But I'm missing the guys of training with them. But I don't want to reach out because I've chosen this, because I know that I've got my A game, or my A goal is this race at the end. What's just been, because Kev, I don't know if it's the same as yourself, right? But I'm up morning, noon, and night thinking about this race.
Oh,
Even my work's taking a second. It's completely engulfed me.
No, and I think that's funny. Even just going back to the first point, like, if you're going to choose difficult goals, again, I hope this reaches many of the normal people out there that, you know, like, we're no elite athletes. You know,
I was going to say,
we're both just normal guys working full time in senior positions, families. We're both papas. You know, we've got shit going on. And we're choosing big goals that we might not complete. And it does become quite relentless in your head. And like you say, you find yourself out at the crack of farts in the middle of nowhere. I mean, yeah, I mean, I was thinking, like, and I would say in the last year, it's been the worst weather consistently across the last year that I recall in my adult life. And we obviously prepared for this relentlessly through that. I remember loads of times reading on, like, you know, through people that we train with, You and I make the wee little private joke when we hear people's reverse lights coming on, you know, beep, beep, beep. When they're committed to doing something, they say they're going to do something, they don't fucking do it. Not once. You and I were ultra committed to everything that was set. I mean, we get a plan, we follow. I mean, we don't do it because we're looking for credit for this, but we followed that plan like our lives depended on it. And we did it despite, obviously, both of us had physical issues going on behind the scenes, that we were trying to manage our bodies. We were out in the middle of nowhere. God knows what sort of crazy times and the worse the weather, and we kept going because we were absolutely driven. If you know, and I think that's how we, like, certainly I re-emphasize the importance of the goal being yours and meaning something really, really, really special to you, because you will be willing to go there. You will be willing to make that sacrifice. Like, and people will think you are off your head. I mean, how many times have you and I heard that expression? Oh, you're off your head.
I know.
Are we really? I mean, who makes the decision there on you're the crazy one? Is it we're the crazy ones, or is it the people who know having the taking the opportunity to go out and push themselves and do kind of unusual stuff, tough stuff? They're the crazy ones.
It's strange to say that, because it's about when you set yourself goals like this, and like I said, like last year, when you're 70% committed, you can feel you're 70% committed. You feel that, you know that, right? You might be putting on a brave show, right? But you're not fooling anyone, because you know, because you can see it in your training. Because sometimes, like, you might have hill reps on a Thursday, well, you've not turned up for them, right? You've made an excuse, and you're happy with that excuse.
Yep.
But it isn't going to affect. It's not going to help you towards your goal. Being fast forward a year and hitting every training plan and hitting every single time when you've said you're going out and you've went out, irrelevant of everything, that's what's going to help you get to your goals. Not making excuses, not reversing. that reverse life, that ain't got it. That's just taking you back the way. You've got to be fully invested in it.
Yeah.
And that's got to come from every part of you. And you know something, and we are lucky that we've got our wives that do support us. That you can't deny that. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Imagine being married to someone who wasn't supportive like that. You just couldn't do it.
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, when you're talking about being relentless, and I think back to the point you made, a couple of different points here, like I mean, even in our small group, I know categorically if I put up I'm going to do something, and if it's a terrible morning and different things like that, and maybe a couple of guys saying and then they don't show, I will be on that hill at 5 o'clock, whatever it is that's been agreed, in the terrible rain and wind, and it will be done. And I also know that that's in you. That's when you say it's got to happen, it's got to happen. Because, and I've talked about this in previous episodes, if you give yourself evidence, who was it that spoke about it? Chris Eubank Jr. speaks about this in a podcast. It's actually fantastic, but it sums it up in a nutshell. He talked about when he was out sparring. It was like a training camp abroad, and they put in the ring this big. Chris Eubank's like, say he's middleweight, right? So they put into the ring this big heavyweight Cuban champion, amateur champion. Like, the guy's a beast. He's huge. He's decorated. And he gets in the ring, they say, right, you're sparring him. And he's looking up and he's like, right. He gets in and he gives it his all. And no doubt, that part of the story is missing, but no doubt he gets punched about, right? But he goes in there and he does it, he shows up and he goes all in. And what he says is, if I I might be getting some of this wrong. So anyone who's heard this podcast, don't shoot me for this. But what he talks about is if I don't go all in training and I tap out in training, or in life, then see when it comes to his title fight, when it really, really matters, i.e. for us, we're race, then you've got evidence that you'll tap it. You've got evidence that when the going gets tough, that kind of thing. Now, very, very different in your case with the race, because that was a serious injury, which you then later found out, But in terms of the weather, tiredness, you're no feeling your best, all these things. If you can push through these things and get it done and show up and be accountable to yourself, then when it matters, that's the evidence you can fall back on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's incredible. Like, if you're able to frame that like that.
But it's right, because if you're securing excuses in your head,
Yeah.
right, then when it comes to the race and it comes to the toughness, you're going to pull one of them excuses out the bag.
Yeah.
But once the switch flicked, and it's certainly in me, right, from that day, not once did I ever say, I'm not doing this. Even through the race, throughout the race, not one single time. I always said, even on the line, talking to the guy, Ryan Black, an ex-tanky, who finished just in front of us on the race, met him a few times. Even there, we both spoke to each other and said, this is getting done. Unless something physically fell off me, it was getting done. Not once.
Yeah. I remember Levi, loads of conversations with people in the run-up, and they were like, how are you feeling? And I'm like, nervous as hell. They're like, oh, are you worried? And I went, no. I couldn't articulate how unbelievably nervous I was, but unbelievably certain that no matter what, I would see that finish line, no matter what. And I truly, truly, truly believed it. I wouldn't entertain anything other than that image of the coast, the water, the sea on the East Coast. That was my visualization. But I think it was difficult to articulate, because the words that was coming out of my mouth was, I was really, really nervous. But the reason I was so nervous was because it was all the unknown. Like, I had a conversation with Scott the night before, and I said to him, how will I know if I'm brave? And he was kind of like looking at me, and I'm not sure how that would sound to him. I'm not sure how that would sound to anyone. I think I said it to my wife as well, and said to Scott, how will I know if I'm brave? If I'm brave enough? And he was like, what do you mean? And I says, well, I've seen you do like things when you're really hot, you suffered bad injuries and stuff like that, and he's kept going. Like, I did not want to come back next year. I didn't want to come back. I wanted it put to bed. So I was like, how will you know? But see, the reality was, you don't know. You can't know until you have evidence. And you can't get evidence until you try.
I was in the point of, when you're talking about, like, how do you know if you were brave, or when you would be brave and anything, right? Because I'd logged down the miles and things in my head, and I put my plan of action down, right? I was fully 100% confident that I was finishing this race, right? And I was never, I think once or twice I may have thought about the actual distance itself, and it's too overwhelming, and I've put that to bed, and I went, I'm not thinking about that. My thought is I'm getting to Castle Kennedy. My thought is I'm getting to see Stuart Hornell at 22. My thought is I'm going to see the lads at here. That was it. And that's how I attacked it, bit by bit by bit. And as I said, not once did I come in and say, oh, I've got this to do. It was a case of, where's the next one? Food, crack on. Mm-hmm. And that would, even the build up to it, when I'd been away in my roof tent down to St Mary's, looking, saying, right, I've reckoned this route, I'm going the other route. right? Even all of that, it was all come out. And every week I had a plan for going down and I'll see this part, go down and see that part, even with you and I both up in the Bridge of Orkney. When you were laughing at us and I'm getting eaten by midges. Do you know what I mean? But we had a plan that weekend and that's what we committed to and that's what we did.
I think the mileage, what I will say, because there'll be people listening to this that, you know, i.e. likes my partner and people that maybe spoke to, I will admit the miles, the distance scared the shit out of me, because my longest race today was 47 miles. And I kept saying, the words I kept saying was, I can't comprehend doing this distance. I can't comprehend it. And again, how that may have sounded to people, they would have went away and went, I mean, I had a beautiful conversation with one of our mates, Keith Cochran, after just a week or so ago. And he said, and you know Keith, absolute brutal honesty. He does not filter. That's why I love him, because he does not fucking filter. And he says, can I just be really, really honest? I went, please, with a big smile on my face. He went, I didn't think either of the two of you were finishing it. He said, I didn't. He says, because Levi's injury and he come back and everything. And he says, you've never did anything like that. And I just laughed and I went, thank you for saying that. And he was like, and I was like, no, because you're validating that there was so much uncertainty around. I would love to have heard all those conversations around people. We knew the very, very high DNF rate, you know, did not finish for them to wonder what I'm talking about. You know, only a third of the people finished this race. A third. Right? I mean, a third of 170 people, and we were two of them. Both of us with massive...
It makes me smile.
both of us with massive amounts of evidence that we may not finish. Having no did anything like that distance, both of our bodies, I mean, fucking hell. I was living a lie right up to the start, you know, in terms of my body, telling no one the extent of my issues, you know, but one thing that was absolutely clear was both of us relentless mindset that whatever it took, it would get done.
You have to, like, if anybody's thinking about doing this sort of thing, that you've got to put the training in for every part of it. And me, you know, like myself, I struggle with food. I struggle with keeping stuff down. I've been out on 30-mile training runs and went man down at 28 miles in, and literally I nearly collapsed on one of them, just down at One Lock Head when I was out with the boys. But this time, because I found the source of food I could keep down and all that, and practice with it and train with it, went through it, and it's just trial and error and everything. When it came to the race, I was fine.
And that's probably another good example of how we were sort of behind each other. You know, we were all like, because I was out researching foods and products for you as well, because we, you know, are so fully committed to for each other and both of us getting there. And you know, it's kind of what you've just touched on probably opens a can of worms, really, because I think that's the thing about if you leave a stone unturned, then you couldn't get caught out. And I guess that's the same in life, isn't it? Like, people maybe think, well, of course that's the case for an ultra run, but I don't think it's the same for if you want to get a promotion. If you don't prepare every single part of what you may get asked in that interview, then you could get beaten by that one aspect that you didn't prepare for. If you have got something going on in a relationship that's really not right, and you are not sort of looking into that properly as to what's going on, and the ultra run is a probably magnified version of that. You know, like we had to double down on nutrition, on hydration, in terms of electrolytes, all things that you and I weren't the experts on, and we had major problems in the past. Race kit,
Your foot, you know what I mean?
You know, foot care, the weather, what kind of weather you might get and how you would react to it, how you needed people to support you, the types of support that you needed. You know, even I took a kind of measure because I was struggling so much to comprehend the distance. I then sort of went away and weeks and weeks and weeks went by, and I tried to come up with a technique that would allow me to break it down, and I ended up coming up with the 13 bands, 13 small bands, and each band represented something and special to me. And every time I came into the checkpoint, I would give my niece, who was there with her dad helping support me, I would give her one of the bands. So when I was out there in the dark of night and stuff like that, I would go like that and I'd feel how many bands were there, and I'd go, 6 bands left. You are fucking killing this. And it was all the self-talk. You know, 4 bands left. You won't be stopped. You won't be stopped. You won't be stopped. You know, and it was like, it's all that stuff. But if you don't leave each part of that, if you leave it unturned, it'll catch you and it'll kill you.
It's right. You're saying like you're giving out the bands, and mine was the opposite way around. Of because I like to write things down and physically see them. I knew my next point. I knew because my crew we met at the original checkpoints, but I also had checkpoints in between of where like additional bonus checkpoints for me. So when we came into the scout hut and we were going around to Dreer, the next part past St Mary's Lock, well, I'd actually arranged to meet the guys at St Mary's Lock as well. So that was what I knew. It was 7 miles in. So right, I'll meet you there. Got myself something to eat, and I was actually sitting down, and Sean's at the guys. All these guys are moving straight away now. Are you going to move? And I went, oh, I'm so pleased that I've met you here, because that now pushes me on to crack on and continue. Like, you know what I mean? So every time it was like pushed on and pushed on and pushed on. But I was counting them up the way, and you're counting them down, and I'm like going, right, I know where I've got to go, and I know where I am. I was actually surprised when I come into Beat Talks of how close the next checkpoint was. And when I was going from Beat Talks to the next one, I'm not going, I can't believe I've just done 120 odd mile. That's right. I was chuffed then. I went, what are you 100 mile to do?
It was crazy. It was crazy. And moments like that, like you say, that when you hit sort of periods, anybody who's watching the video version, I've just moved the seat round because we are strangely blessed with a beautiful sunny September morning, and the sun just came in there and absolutely blinded me, so I couldn't even see Levi on the screen, so I've just changed seat. It was strange when you talk about that. I guess we could go into that, about highs and lows during the event. Talk to me about your highs and lows, in terms of, you know, how did that unfold for you? Was it as you expected, and where was the curveballs?
The highs for me was, first of all, getting past the 58 miles, getting past there and getting to Derive St John's, right? And then, as you said, like ticking the mileage off as you do, seeing the guys and everything. One of the biggest highs out of the whole of the race was hitting Sanka. And I came around that corner, there was about 30, 35 people there waiting for us. I was buzzing. I was absolutely buzzing. And you know what I mean? Keith Cochran again turns up with his missus, you know, with Lynn. It's Lindsay's wife, isn't it?
Lynn, yeah.
Aye. Turns up with Lynn. My pal from work comes up with his wife and kids. I was buzzing, you know. Hazel's there. What a high coming onto there. And then at the same time as coming in there, then my feet started to give way. So my feet are on fire, right? But you see, seeing all these people, it just dampened that pain that little bit. And then obviously Mr. Taggart started massaging my feet, oil into my feet. And that was, I'm a tickly person, like, and he's trying to do that. I'm trying to laugh. My feet are on fire and I'm just looking around, just being one of the happiest guys in the world. Absolutely, what a buzz. Some of the lows, obviously, I've had sleep deprivation before, right? I've had it for the first night. We've done that. I don't really get sleep deprivation on the first night. Second night, I've never really ventured into that sort of stuff. So it started kicking a little bit. But see, come the fourth night, wow, tripping, absolute tripping to what I experienced. I've never experienced that. It's like an out of body experience when you're going along and I'm looking at myself in this area and I'm in that area at the same time, but I've got kind of a buzz factor going around of like, it was, I don't know whether you experienced it yourself, but it was so unreal. You know what I mean? Or so surreal when you're like going, I know where I'm here. I mean, I think I said to you, like, I come out to one of the checkpoints and Sean grabs me by the arms and he went, I don't know how to say this, pal, but he goes, you're not going to make this if you didn't hurry up. And I went, what are you talking about? What are you doing here? Well, I'm out. To me, I'm out walking the dogs, right? what are you doing here, lads? And I'm standing at the front of the car, and they're going, need to hurry up, Levi. And I'd just taken 5 hours to do 4 mile, right? Because I'm bouncing and I'm map reading at the same time because my bloody watch had stopped and my phone had stopped. So I'm now back to basics, reading the map in the dark, and I'm thinking to myself, what are these guys doing here? Not that they've been running with me for the past 80 hours. No idea why they were there.
Oh my God. So how much sleep did you have?
I thought,
have you added it up?
I've tried to add it up, right? So the first point when I got my head down was Darius St. John's. I come in there. My plan of action was the same as yours, to come into Sancta to get to there, right? But while I was coming to Darius St. John's, you know yourself, right? It was the underground was horrible, boggy. My feet were on fire. I come in and I went, I need to take some time off my feet, right? And I think I probably had about half an hour there. I'm sure I did. About half an hour, then something to eat, and then and if Scott, if you listen to this, right, I've got to apologise, right? But we'll be honest, right? So anyway, I woke up and they gave us some food in there. Andy's at the guards. Listen, Scott's been on the phone and he said, if you've had a sleep here, you're not allowed to have a sleep at Sancta. And I went, never mind fucking Scott being on the phone and saying I can do this and do that. And I'm in the race. I'll decide whether I've got to sleep or not. But then as I approached Sancta, I went, I better not sleep just in case it gets me into trouble. Embarrassing, you know. I mean, you're not going, oh no, the coach has got to get us into trouble. But yeah, I had a sleep there, and then we headed off because I knew the next section, the next part was like a 30 miler, and you weren't seeing anybody. And even then, it's crazy to think that the next checkpoint's 30 mile away or 27 mile, I think it is. But it didn't phase us one single bit because I knew I'm going there. I just packed up all the gear and went across. And as I said, coming into Sancta, I don't know if you experienced it yourself, but you see, when you're coming into Sancta itself, what a long road. It never seemed to get any closer. You know, when you come to the top of the hill, it never seemed to get any closer. And you're coming down, you're like going, please, please. Someone drag the village forward.
Yep.
And then, yeah, as I came in there, mate, as I said, that's when I started to feel real pain in my feet. But then seeing everybody's faces there, it took the pain away. It absolutely did take the pain. Didn't help when I started moving off again, like, because from there on in, it took me about 10, 15 minutes whenever I left the checkpoint just for my feet to start working. I don't know if you were the same.
Yep.
How was your feet through it?
Well, yeah, they were bad, but they were worse whenever you would stop.
Yeah.
So whenever you stopped to sleep, then you took your trainers and your socks off to give them a minute, and whenever you tried to then put them back on, they were. I was like, I kept saying it felt like they were burning coals. It was like burning coals, and I had burning coals for 2 weeks after it and all, but we'll come back to that. But so just because people will be wondering this, so just to answer that part that I asked you, so how much sleep do you think you had during the whole event?
I had about 4 or 5 hours. That's what I think I had.
Do you remember when you had, like, do you remember what you broke that down to across the time?
Well, I know it was about half an hour at Darius St. John's, and then I went to, the next sleep I had was in Wanlock Head. I had to take, I think it was about an hour and a half out of the sun because it was melting. Oh. And you know I don't operate with the sun. So what I thought, I got up there about 3 o'clock. I seen John Bell and Willie, Big Willie and that, and I went, I just need time out of the sun, and I'll start again when the sun starts to calm down. So I think about an hour and a half or something, maybe 2 hours then. And then I cracked on to Detox, where I took about another half an hour, 45 minutes. And then the rain came down horrendously. And then after that was St. Mary's Lock, where I sat down. I didn't have any sleep there. I wanted to go to sleep, but everybody was coming through and just cracking on. And that's what Sean said. Everyone's just moving on. I went, right, okay, I'll crack on as well. I think about 4 or 5 hours in total. I did. So one of the times was, I purposely was on the path and I seen the lovely moss and I just took my backpack off and went to sleep there, right on the ground. And then the next time, and I think it was only about half an hour later when I didn't actually thought I'd done this, but I actually must have done it again. And Sean said, you stopped for about an hour. I didn't even know I'd stopped for about an hour. I woke up and I was walking forward when I woke up. I didn't even know I'd stopped.
Yeah.
But he's exactly guys, no, so without even thinking, I've stopped, took my backpack off, went to sleep, got up, put it back on, and then woke up as I'm walking. Tripping out my head. Absolutely tripping out my head. People going past us saying, "You all right?" I'm going, "Yeah, I'm all right. Are you all right?"
So I had 4 hours 20 that I am sort of consciously aware of. So the funny story with mine was, as you know, I wanted to attempt to get to Sanka, and before I shut my eyes. So that was my first big milestone. And strangely enough, yep. Well, what was really cool was, we'll come back to that. So yeah, I get us into Sanka, must be about 26 hours in or something like that. And my plan was I was going to get my head down for 2 hours. 1 hour in, someone pays for a full-blown orange walk stroke band to walk up the street that the camper van's parked on, and it was the most unfunniest thing at the moment it happened. But looking at the video that I was then sent of the band going by the camper van and thinking about me in there, see when I pulls the curtain or I hears it, I pulls the curtain and I sees this girl playing this drum going by the door, and I'm like, what the actual what is actually going on here? And I could see everybody. I've got tinted windows right on the van, and I'm looking at everybody's faces, and they're all like that, as if, oh God, he's trying to sleep, right? So I opens the door. Scott walks through, and he went, "What you doing? You try to get back down?" And I went, "No, I'm gone." So I just went. That was a wake up call. And funnily enough, and I don't mind saying this because we were in a race. One of the boys, Dean had caught me. I was going through a particularly slow point, and he was having a second wind, and he'd caught me as we come in. And I was conscious of that because you're out there, everybody's out there sort of to do their best, and you're out there to do your best. And I remember thinking that that I must have slowed right down at the end. I think when he caught me, I was probably walking. So that I woke up with that in my head. So that was my first hour. But I was also proud of myself at that point because I had got to that place by that time. So I knew the sun was coming up, and I decided, come on, right, let's go.
That's your furthest point without stopping now, isn't it? So that's your furthest, longest distance.
Incredible milestone. I'm now in PB City. Every mile's a PB. I've went 96 miles. I've no stopped, and this is me. So that was my first hour. I then goes through. So we goes to One Log Head. I'm the opposite of you, so the sun's come up. I'm feeling good, man. I think I'm maybe.
You're going up there, and I'm just going.
I'm like, sun's out. I feel good. It's beating down on me. I'm like, right, let's go, man. We're now into the hundreds, and I'm like, right, this is it. sees people at One Lockhead, everyone's smiling, everyone's sitting in the sun, and yeah, let's go. We then goes from One Lockhead to Beatock. So where do I then? So I'm absolutely roasted by the sun. I don't sleep there. So yeah, I don't sleep again until the no, that's a lie. So we're coming out. That's where I has my sort of moment. So it's the darkness is coming down. Beatock out to Boston, innit? Beatock out to
Yeah,
Boston.
yeah.
So that's a big climb, quite sketchy. High winds come in during the night and everything. So my body and mind must have gave me a heads up because when I was coming out of there and the sun was dropping, I remember getting into my bag. I was wearing the head torch battery went. I went into the bag to get it, and I lay down in the grass, and I didn't know that Wally Shearer and John Bell were watching me from a dark path. And they were like, that behind there, and then they're like, what is he doing? And I just went like that. I went into my bag to get my heat torch, and I just went into the grass, and it must just look like to them as if he's out, you know. And I went, get up, and I stood up, and I went across the field, and they were shouting to me, and I'm like, who is that shouting? You know, I knew I had a real moment of both my head had kind of went. And I said to Ollie, if you get your car and gets into the front of the car, and I slept for 20 minutes in the front of Wally's car, and it was the best thing ever because
Is that before you attacked the big hill?
before I attacked the big climb, and because I understand that sort of roundabout between then and the next one is when they changed the low route. I missed it, and I managed to get all the high route and stuff. But when I remember kind of coming to Wally told me since he was worried. He was really worried. I just needed a cat nap. That's what I needed. I just needed a bit of energy. So that was a 20 minutes there. When I got to Boston, that's when I had my biggest sleep, and I had 2 hours in there, which absolutely broke me. And we'll come back to that in terms of low points. 2 hours there, and then I had a final hour at the Watchtower Fishery, just after my breakfast. And that would say that's probably my only regret of the whole race, having that, because that hour was on the back of my best day, Monday, which going from my worst low point in the Monday morning, early Monday morning when I get up, to deciding to take that final hour on the early hours of Tuesday morning, right? I wish I hadn't had it because that was the final time that I could not get my feet to really get going again, one last time. Even though mentally it felt fantastic. So that would be my 4 hours and 20 minutes of sleep. And the sleep thing was a massive introduction to sleep deprivation to me. But interestingly enough, I said to Scott before the race, he says, what would you like to sleep? What's your sort of thoughts? And I says, I think 2 2 hour sleeps, but I don't know if I could pull that off because and he said, well, that's a good plan to have. Let's see how that ends up. So the fact that I said I would like to have 2 2 hour sleeps and I ended up having, 4 hours 20 sort of in a different sort of strategy, I was massively proud of that.
It's a weird one to comprehend when you are, because even now when you're thinking you're not gone, because in my head I kind of get it out of it that I was moving for 4 days. I was moving for 96 hours. I'm not gone. I still cannot believe it. I tell you what, I'll go back to though. See where the high route and the low route. See when I got told I was going the low route. You were the first person I thought of. I went, oh, I'm gonna get ripped. I'm gonna get.
See, like I wasn't able to think about it until after, because I'm not aware that it's been changed, right? I don't know
Yeah.
that it's been changed. Like, as you know, you're in your own bubble. So, like, you and I overcame that thing with our watches. We learned how to do that, and and all that stuff because we needed to know. So I'm out there, and all I know is when I was up that big one, I don't know what it's called, but through the night, because a guy for Newcombe that I've got to meet, Stuart, fucking guy chased me, man, the whole fucking race. Thankfully, I managed. I hope if he listens to this, I know he'll smile. But thankfully, I managed to put him to bed in the final two section. Well, it was actually the final two sections. I consistently managed to keep him behind me, but he got ahead of me. Before that, but in that section, and I've messaged him just to say, a bit of mutual respect there because he caught up with me, and we 2 years get through that. When the wind really, really changed
Yeah.
and we stuck together through that section. And I guess that was the first time I'd really been introduced to the whole ultra running camaraderie, like because, and I've spoken about this. I'm going to go on a tangent here. Like I've spoken about this. The thing for us, like, what I really realise is everybody will choose different coaches and different people that you'll take your advice and guidance on. We're trained by Scott, my brother. Scott doesn't train you to have buddies during the race. Like, fuck, see if you don't want to be trained this way, by the way, that's a choice. Scott trains you to do your best. He trains you to get your best result. And what was fucking funny about that was that, and I'll never forget this, right? I'm having the best day. My best day by far was my last day on the Monday through to the Tuesday, right? And I have found a second wind. I have opened the cage. Something's come out of me that I didn't know lived within me. I am alive. I'm growling. But I'm happy. Like but as gets this moment right, we gets into Lauder, and Scott went, I think you should go again. I think you should go to the next one. You're flying. Look at you. And I was like, aye. Like, eyes like that. Right. I'm like, I think I'm well into caffeine at this point. We've switched from the normal gels to the caffeine gels. I'm like, and I goes, do you think I should maybe, I says to him in this melting head, I went, do you think I should maybe wait on Stuart coming in and we'll go and do this together then? Because like, and they went, why would you do that? And I went,
just straight faced in it, isn't
I was
he?
like, straight stone face, right? I fucking hope Scott listens to this. Straight stone face, and he goes, why would you do that? No, you're not waiting on him. And I went, forget I even said that. No, like what could the why what we I had a moment of my inner bitch come out, and I was like, that was a really stupid thing to say. Because he just wants you to be your best. He wants you to do your best. He wants to
Yeah.
know that at the end you never like, and that's why, like, if you're coasting in a race, you're trained by Scott, if you're coasting in a race and you're buddied up with somebody and he will fucking give you those eyes as if, what you doing? And listen, we're blessed for that because obviously it reflected. But it was funny because I, like, going back to that, Stuart had stuck with me through that night section and I was moving slower than him at that point. Um, which I knew, because I was leading into the lowest point I would experience in the race, which happened at Boston. Do you remember your lowest point?
Yeah, I do. It's so like I said to you, it was coming down from I can't remember where it was. Well, I was after the fishery, so the last 20 odd mile.
Yeah.
Coming down off one of the hills. Well, no, sorry, just about to go up one of the hills, and my phone, my watch had come up with 2% battery, navigation turned off. right? I'm looking at it, I went, now in my head, I'm going, what an idiot. I've got my charger and the guys have got a book, right? And not once, I'd had the navigation on for 4 days, right? And not once, did you charge your watch?
Yes, a very, well, again, coming into Lauder, it went off saying 10% battery, and I ran like the police were chasing me. And I've sent Scott a voice note to say, my watch charger's about to go. Isn't it beautiful that the thought of it not being on Strava actually haunts you more than anything? So I ran like the wind to get to Scott and to Lauder, so it actually pushed me on even harder, because I was like, if this runs out,
Listen, right, so that went right, and I was just saying, I just went, I can't believe that. At the same time, I kind of get a signal on my phone, right? Now, this is the middle of the night. This is pitch black, right? I'm just about to hit a hill. I'm just gone up the hill. I could see the path barely, right? This guy come along, right? And I was like, hey, pal, can I come with you just to get me out of this hill so you can see the guys? Because my watch is, I have no navigation. He went, I need bother, pal. And then pissed off.
wow.
He just shut off. And I was like, are you joking? I'm trying to keep up with him. Now, bear in mind, my feet are on fire. So he was moving quicker than me, and I cannot keep up with him. And he's just away. He was away. Man. I found out later that he didn't actually finish the race. And I thought, well, you know what I mean? So anyway, he buggered off. This lassie come along, Gillian, who I ended up spending the rest of the time with. That, not at that particular time, right? She come along, and she was kind of, couldn't really see her watching everything. So she was struggling a bit. And I said, look, should we just get together? She goes, we'll just go together. Then behind her, another guy come up, right? And he was struggling. And well, not struggling as much as us, but he kind of knew where the path was. And I was at the guns, can we? And we both said to the guns, should we just get out of this hill here together, and then we can move it like that? And the guy's like, yeah, okay. And he buggered off as well. And Gillian's that going, well, that's fucking nice, isn't it? Anyway, we get up out of the hill, back down. Gillian meets her husband and her kids, right? She gets in with there. I meet Andy and Sean and that, and I goes, look, my watch has died here. So I tried to put a bit of a charge on, right? I got a little bit of a charge on, but then it still didn't work because it wasn't enough of the charge. So then I took my map out and I went, right, got my map out, and I just went back into squatting mode, to be fair. And I don't know how I did it, because I had been taking my map with us on my recce runs, and I'd been looking at the route, trying to back into the map reading and everything, right? So I got the map out there, put it on to page number 10 for the place where I thought I was. And I looked at it and I goes, right, I know I've come down this route here, and now I'm going along a metal track, and I'm going to take off to a road to the right, a path to the right. So come down, I'm going down the metal road, right? The fucking two paramedics come up to us, right? Odd it and dod it, right? Two lunatics. I was at the guns, guys. The guns, where you going? I guns, I've got any navigation now. I guns, I think I'm going down there to the right. So they look at my map and they goes, no, back up there, pal. I went, no, I've just come from there. They went, no, you need to go back up there. And I went, because they said the route comes down here. And I went, you should have come from that direction. Now, I've been on my feet for 3.5 days or something. I went, you are coming from that direction. That doesn't mean to say I'm gone in that direction. I'm coming against you. And I went, right, listen, just go. Oh, no. So then, mate, it was massively playing with my head. Anyway, I took the right, I found the gate, got it right, like, now I'm trying to get my bearings right. I can't see anything. It's pitch black. And this is when I'm saying to you, this is the part that took me 4 or 5 hours to do 4 miles, right? I'm looking to the right, and it's just a blackness. And that's when I was seeing, like, I can start seeing, like, combine harvesters, fucking aeroplanes, a row of houses, right? I'm looking at, and I'm going, right, there's a row of houses there. I know they've got nice gardens, right? Kev, I'm not gone. I remember me and Kev wrecked this part here, which we hadn't, right? Which we fucking been, I think it was louder. We hadn't been there. I know there's a part there, right? But then I looked at the map and I've got my torch out. I'm going, right, I know I'm counting its kilometers. I'm going, there's about 3 kilometers down and it bears round to the right. So what I've got to do is just keep moving forward. If it bears round to the right, I'm on the right path. And it did. The path went straight down. It went round to the right. And then I just started using my map. Fast forward an hour later, I'm still using my map. I went, right, bollocks, I'm not using technology. Because I met Andy and them, the guys, since you've used your map, you've actually been bang on the trail. I went, right, fuck it then. It's working. I've only got 1 more night to go. I'll just use the map. Gets over to the next hill, and I meet Gillian again, right? Now she's running from post to post, right? Just running about on the top of this hill, right? And I'm going, what's the matter? She goes, I can't get the postcodes off the posts
Oh,
to know where
God.
I've gone. I'm going, what? She's tripping, right? And I'm going, Gillian, are you tripping? She's like, aye. I goes, well, I am as well. So let's do it together, right? I goes, listen, my watch has died and all that sort of stuff. I'm map reading now. So do you want to come out with me and we'll just do it. We'll finish it together. And that's what we did. We went the rest together, and it was funny as hell because as you're coming down, I mean, she's running along. She's seen things that's not even there. She starts talking about something that we're not even having a conversation about. You know? And then I'm doing the same. They're like, God, like it'll go quiet, and all of a sudden you're gone. Have we been walking? Have we been running? You just completely miss these places. But then that was the lowest point of the race. That part there, but still at that point, there was not once did it ever come into my head that I was stopping. Not once.
No.
I was always going again. It's like you said, see, when you come to the fishery, I've got a video of it moving out there. Yeah, hot broken glass. Hot broken glass is what my feet were on. Absolutely on fire. And like you said, for a few days after, just on fire. On fire.
It's interesting. I'm like listening to you talking about it. My lowest point obviously came at Boston. And I guess it's like, you know, I still can see myself and how bad it looked.
Was it Boston moving in or was it Boston coming out when you were coming out? All right.
So that section coming into Boston is just, it's horrible anyway.
Exactly.
It's just like feels like what you would call a road to nowhere. I guess I kind of, the good thing was I remembered from Scott doing it, so I remembered like how long it was and stuff. But I remember coming along there and I was just bashing tarmac, if you like, you know, and I was like, oh.
9 mile of it.
So I came in and, as I say, Scott set me up to get a nice sleep. So I got something to eat in there. I think I get something nice like beans and toast or something like they made me. And I gets the head down. So how many miles is that in? What must that be?
That's got to be about 180, I would have said.
No sure. Is it? Is it as much as that? Anyway.
Well, no, because it's 123 to Beatox, and that is 9 mile from there.
Aye, so
aye.
Maybe 130 or something like that. Right. But I remember, like, oh man, I wakes up and I tries to get my gear on, and I never forget like the feeling of absolute pain of trying to get my stuff on my feet and on my feet. And I remember Scott and that they're up there. So Scott Curdy's there, Wally and John are there. Obviously Scott and Dakota's there. I think Dakota's sleeping. Anyway, I remember Scott and that's like, right, you know, come on, everyone. And I remember I'm like, oh, try to move myself. Felt absolutely broken. And I thought, how am I going to move to the end of this like this? This is going to take forever. That's what I'm saying inside my head. Now, when I was trying I remember so vividly, I'm trying not to speak because I know if I speak, what's going to come out my mouth is going to sound really negative. So I'm trying not to speak. But Scott's there as your crew and your coach and stuff. The others on the speaking, right? I get why, right? Because they're like, shit, what do you say here? So Scott's sort of speaking, and like I still hope to this day that he knew deep down I was going to get it done, but at the same time he doesn't want to see me getting it done like this. So he's trying to say stuff to you to kind of get your reaction and everything. I remember it all, but I remember sort of looking at him and I'm there's a picture of me sitting, I think, at the van at that point, and I look like shit, absolute shit, and I feel like shit. So I goes out of there. Now, the section that takes me out of Boston, over the hills, again, thunder and lightning come in at this point. And I'll never forget a guy catching me, and he's like, "Come on, man!" And I says, "My feet," and he went. His words were, "They'll come back," and I'm looking at him like, "Fuck off," fucking come back, fuck off, out of my way, Real, and I'm sorry that does sound really negative because that is what it was, and they went to the start of St Mary's Lock. This is where the whole race changes, by the way. They goes to the start of St Mary's Lock, and as I'm coming down the hill, they're looking up at me, and I remember thinking, what a mess I must look to them coming down this hill. I am literally just shuffling a foot in front of the other. I look terrible. I feel terrible. The whole section I've just done, I've done as slow as I'd moved the whole race, and I am feeling really, really sorry for myself. And I thought, all I could think was, this is how you're going to be moving to the end of the race. Oh my God. I remember saying, Levi will catch up with you soon. Everybody will catch up with you soon. This is you. Everybody you will be fucking dead last, and you might not make the cut off, but this is it. This is your race. That's the stuff I was saying as I was coming down that final section to them, where I could see them park.
It's a long stretch of it down into St Mary's Lock. Yeah,
I'm coming in. So we get into the van, and Scott said to me, everybody's I think he says something like, everybody's catching up with you. You're not moving well, or something along those lines. And I went, I know. I looked at him and I went, I'm trying to move. And it was a really, depressing moment.
Yeah.
Right? And we're sitting here, there's nobody about, we're sitting here at St Mary's Lock, the boys are looking at me, and I'm like, so sad. So sad. And as I leaves, Scott says to me, maybe this section along the side of the lock will help. It's soft underfoot. And he's trying to say the right things to me. And he was doing a fucking brilliant job. Don't want anybody to think that, what he was saying wasn't working. It was my openness to hearing it was the problem. And as I leaves, I think it was Gavin Thompson there at that point. I'm not sure. To be honest, I'm not sure, because you're so low. But what I remember seeing is the faces of concern, right? Real concern, real genuine concern. People don't come all the way out there to that in the middle of the fucking night and all these types of things if they don't care about you, right? And that's the thing,
of course,
about that I want people to take away. So when I leaves them, I'm going along the start of the lock, and I remember them driving away, and that's when, every single thing changed at that moment, because I remember as I was heading away going, have you brought people out here to watch you suffer like that? Have you brought people out here to look at your face like that? And I went, well, you need to make a decision right now, because your wife and daughter's at the next one. So what's it to be? And honestly, I'm saying this out loud. I'm going along the side of St Mary's Lock, having this full out loud conversation of, is this what you've decided that people are going to get to see? You fucking chose to be here. You chose to enter this. They do not deserve this. And then as I was having this conversation, I'm starting to shuffle, starting to sort of very slow jog, and I'm starting to go, that's it, get a fucking grip, get a grip. I think I started shouting, are you going to show your wife and daughter that face, or are you going to show them you fucking fighting? Are you going to show your brother that he's here to support this guy, or are you going to show him the other guy? And well, I think I had my first tears came for the first time in the race. They would come again at the end, but
Yeah.
tears came. I started to get really, really angry. I started to shout. The more I started to shout, the more I started to move. And it was almost like and I've thought about this recently, it was almost like I broke out my own skin. Do you know, like a snake sheds its skin?
Yeah.
I swear in my kids, man, at the side of St Mary's Lock, as I was moving along that lock, shouting and screaming, and what that would have sounded like to somebody camping out, by the way. And as I sort of broke out my own skin and I started running, and the rain was coming down on me. It was the most incredible moment because I'm in a period in the race where I have no idea like I'm in miles that I've got no comprehension of what that looks like, what it feels like. I've just come through an unbelievable moment of adversity, and then oh fuck, I came alive, and the next time everybody sees me at Gala Shields.
Is it Gala?
Gala Shields. I think it's Gala Shields, the little community centre.
Yeah, Gala
And
Shields.
I'm coming along the road. Now, bear in mind, the last image I've got is coming down the hill into everybody. The next image I have is coming along this big long road, and I can see them all, and I know that they don't know it's me because I'm running. No poles in the ground. I'm running. And honestly, fucking wanted to strip my clothes off and everything. I could have got naked. I felt connected with the ground, connected with myself. I was honestly, it was like I'd just been reborn. All that sounds total fucking mad. See, when they saw that it was me, you could see them all like that, and they're looking at their phones and stuff like that. I let out a roar, and I was desperate to see my brother, actually, because there was the actual thought of worrying about seeing my wife and daughter, actually, but I couldn't see them yet. But I was desperate to see my brother, for him to know. And when I get to him, and he goes to put on his phone, Scott's injured, and he's trying to run alongside me. And he's going like that in his video. He's going, I can't even keep up with him, like, which was fucking funny. Like, just even though he's injured, like, he was like crippled with his quad and stuff like that. But that was funny for me, and I was going like that. I remember shouting to him. He's like, "Yes, bro," and I was like, "That guy's back there. He's fucking staying there." And I sat,
Brilliant, man.
and they're all sitting with me around the van, and I looked to Wally, and I was like, and that, and John and everything, and I was like, I'm sorry he's had to see him. You won't see him again.
It's an out-of-body experience, isn't it?
They were all like, they were all emotionally charged as well. And my wife and daughter arrived, and my mum, and they would have heard he's not doing good, by the way. So it would have messed with their head. Who the fuck's this? You know, and I was just like, I'm looking at every day, and I'm giving them every single person a look at certainty, be in no fucking doubt. I am annihilating this. You know, this guy is, all bets are off. Get ready.
Brilliant, man.
It was on.
Did you feel like, you know, like obviously you're pain in your feet, and it did last. I mean, you're about 15, 20 minutes every checkpoint you come out with, immense pain gone through. To me, it was immense pain. Now, for anyone who's listening, right, I took 4 different sizes of trainers because I knew my feet swell up. My plan of action was the last 50 miles to put my size 11s on, and I'm only a size 10, but I put them on at 100 miles in, and I kept them on for the rest of the race because my feet had swelled that much I couldn't get anything else on. But 15, 20 minutes after coming out of every checkpoint, my feet are in immense pain. You could barely walk. But then all of a sudden, you're running again, or you're moving a lot better. It just went. But then when you come to the checkpoint, it just come rushing back.
Yeah.
But like gone along St. Mary's, look there, right? So when I had my out of body experience, when I can't see nothing, I read my map and I'm looking down on me, it sounds like it's the same thing of there. It's like when you're breaking free of your skin. And if you looked, remember I sent you the 2 screenshots of our Strava, round about the 180 to 190 miles or something. There's a bit of a speed in like my Strava speeds up and your Strava speeds up. Round that must be, I don't know whether it's like it's at the part when a human being just goes, right, we're going into a next level because we're 180 miles deep into a race. We're 180. If you think about that, we're 180 miles deep into a race. We've still got 40 miles to do. Do you know what I mean? When you start buzzing,
it's crazy. It's difficult to comprehend. But I was also the same as you in terms of the feet thing. The feet were, it was almost like you're trying to start up an old like lawnmower type thing. It was difficult. So every single time I was able to jack it up and get it going until obviously the very last checkpoint where I wish I had not took that hour. Because retrospect's a great thing, but had I not took that, so it's an hour's sleep, but it's an hour and a half in terms of sleep, then get yourself moving.
Yeah.
And well, get yourself out of your stuff and then get in your new stuff and all that. So it was like a 90 minutes gone. And then the fact I couldn't then get my feet going when I ran into that checkpoint, I ran in, you know. But the feet, like you say, were fucking unbelievable to deal with. In terms of what you're putting them through and the swelling. Strangely, I had one sort of, my left foot into left ankle was doubled in size. Not the actual foot, from the top of the foot into the ankle lower shin was doubled in size. My right foot was fine, but the ball of the ankle and the inside was bright red stroke bruised. But I hadn't rolled my ankle. None of it really made sense.
Yeah.
What I'd done, but again, you sort of go, I don't care. You just don't care. You're like, I'll deal with all of this at the end. And it's mad. You know, and I was aware of loads of people dropping out because I was seeing people and
Yeah.
you know, and I was like, just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And I mean, it took me also the amount of time you're on your own. And I mean, thank God we trained so much on our own because I spent 95%, 90, maybe 97% of that race on my own. I don't even know what kind of conversation I would have had with somebody I remember in the final section, the second last section, Lauder to the Watchtower, and I was tripping at my box. So the sky. I'm desperate for you and I to go back a drive to Lauder so that we can go just take a walk out of there, or hopefully when we're back running, we can take a run out there and to actually get my head around what I saw out there, because I saw some shit that doesn't make any sense. And the funny thing is, I chased 2 guys that whole section. Scott will tell you, through the Monday, I was just chasing people. So you had to harness that power that you had. So you had a real second wind, and your mindset had just unlocked a new door. I talk about before this event, I say to people that would listen, I've got loads of questions, I want answers. And I get loads of answers. So see, whenever I'd unlock a new door, it was a new answer. So seeing that second wind and that final full day, I was chasing people. So I would go like that with my phone and I would see that somebody was a mile in front of me. And I went, I'll have you by the next checkpoint. It was a whole new,
Yeah.
it was a whole new dog that I didn't know had. So what was funny, for Lauder to the Watchtower, I knew there was 2 guys about a mile to a mile and a half in front of me. So during that section, I am chasing these guys. Every light I saw, I thought was them, and it wasn't them. Uh, every star in the sky or an aeroplane, I went, oh, that was him there. That was him going, right. What I'm not realising, I'm looking up at the sky in the distance, but I think it's the guys on the ground. Oh my God. My head, I mean, it took me back to my younger years, like I say, when maybe you pay money for that kind of done. But I was absolutely off my head. And this was because, me and Scott made an agreement, not keep going. I'm majorly sleep deprived. See, when I finally caught the two of them, I caught them at the final, say, half mile before the checkpoint. And what was funny was I catches up on them and the two heat torches spins round and they went, have you been chasing us for a while? And I went, have I been chasing you for a while? I went, oh my God, boys, I've been chasing you all night, it feels like. And they're like, I know, we kept seeing your torch. And I went, you sure it was my torch? Or do you think it was maybe something else? Because I've been chasing fucking aeroplanes thinking it was used to. And they're like, I don't know. So they two are in front of me, right? They gets up to a gate and they goes, well, first of all, they watch me take a wrong turn and they don't tell me. So
that's the ultra
ultra
community
running, isn't he? All
yeah.
that all the time. They literally watch me 20 metres in front of them take a wrong turn and they two goes the right way. And they didn't tell me until I was right up a hill and I stopped and I realised and I went, pair of fuckers. And I went back down. We'll see when I caught up with them again. The two of them are standing like they're standing in front of a gate and they went, oh, we've went the wrong way. The checkpoint must be back there because there's a gate here. And I walks out of the gate, opens the gate and went, aye boys, you walk through it. And they're like, huh? And I was like, oh my God, everybody's just out here, out their box.
They're all
Everybody's lost the plot, man. So unbelievable highs and lows. I think the only other time I felt I'm making a mad low, no a mad low, but no a depressing low, was just when I'd ran all day in the relentless heat and I was just and when I messaged Scott to say, will you get ice and stuff, because I knew I was redlining and burning out. But I knew I was all right if I could get cooled down.
Yeah.
And because I'd watched Scott do this in the 100, when we got him ice and we got him fruit and different shit like that, and he took time. So I remembered this again. That's the joy of being around that. And I remember when he came out with a point that was before the checkpoint, and I was like, I was out of fluids and stuff like that. And we got the ice. We got the ice on the back of my neck, and we got cooled down. That would be maybe the only other low. But it wasn't a depressing low like the one that I'd explained. But fucking bad.
We had, as I said, when I tied in with that lassie Gillian were coming along, we were coming along a pathway, right? And it was probably the last 3 or 4 miles of the race itself. When you come off the road and you're coming down into the bay, and you go along, you come across the main road, then you go like a bit of a track. We were coming along that track, right? And the track was in front of us, but we both stopped and went, is that a brick wall? Are we going to run through a brick wall? As if the path was just gone straight up in the sky. We both had to stop and go and look and try and squint your hand going, that's just the path.
Is that the last section?
Aye, the last
You're
part.
up through the trees.
Aye, it was weird. The path. Yeah, it went up. And we're like going, are we going to hit a brick wall here? And it wasn't, it was just a path.
So I was see at that section. That's the section where I had begged for hallucinations, So I saw hallucinations heading into Boston. I thought I saw buildings and stuff like that, and it was just trees. But on that section at that moment was where I was seeing faces on the trees. And every time I saw people's faces on the trees, it was almost like I was at fucking UTMB and the gallery was filled and it was all these folk. And I'm like, and see, whenever I'd look and see them, I'd burst out laughing because I went, what are you doing? And I was like, I almost stopped myself saying hello and waving at them and all that. And I went, Kev,
So
you need to get to the finish line.
there was a wall in the middle of nowhere that was painted white. Little parts of it was painted white, and that was people talking to you. I don't know who's painted it white. I didn't even know if it is there, and it is a wall that's painted white. When I seen a wall painted white with fucking people there, you go, what the hell is this? Because I know it's on the right hand side, because I'm running by God, and your head torches on you, going, what the hell is all this? And you just keep going. You just keep going. What a buzz, man.
Listen, we could talk about this bit for fucking all day, right? But let's forward. Finish line. What's that like?
Oh, mate. So I'm coming in, right? And obviously you're going down into the bay, then you come back out. I mean, you want to punch people then. So who's thought of this path? And then you turn right and go all the way around the cliffs, right? Absolutely. But I'd been there and I'd reckoned it right. I'd done a 10-mile out and back, and I'd envisaged me coming down there, right? I was in a lot better state than what I was this time. And I'm coming in there, and then coming to Cockburn's path. I knew where the finish line was. Come in there, come round the corner, and then I just seen Hazel. I seen the finish line, and I just seen Hazel. And I was like, you're joking. I couldn't believe she was there. And I just stopped. And then I seen Ocean Lee. And for people who don't know, like, my daughter's had just been over from Australia, not been over for 5 years. I'd seen him a couple of years ago in Australia. Seen Ocean Lee, seen her partner, Chloe, seen wee Jackie up there. And as I'm coming up, right, and I didn't want to, like, I thought it would not be emotional, but I didn't have any control of it. It was just emotions. Emotions, literally, of joy. I've never actually had such joy. And I don't know whether it's depression or finishing the race or joy or just getting to the finish and seeing everybody there. I hung on to Hazel, and as she's cuddling me, I'm starting to fall down. Because as I'm falling, as I'm like coming down and the emotions are completely draining out of me, immense pain come up through my feet.
Yeah.
Immense pain come up through my feet. I couldn't stand up on them. They were so sore. And then they start doing all the photographs and everything, right? And I just wanted to get off my feet. But it was the most emotional I've ever been on something like that. I couldn't. It was, and I couldn't be any more grateful to the guys who come like Andy and Sean. You know what I mean? Getting through all that sort of stuff. But yeah, and I've seen, like, obviously for you when you finish yours.
No, like I think in previous races I've done and stuff, like people have always like associated me with a big roar and that kind of thing. It's just a release, but this was different. I agree with what you're saying. This was really different. As I saw the coast on the east coast, and I saw the water, I was really overcome. Strangely, I thought with my daughter an awful lot because it'll get me emotional just saying it now, because she came out to a couple of checkpoints and stuff, which made me so proud, like that my daughter was getting to see me do something really, really big, because life is short, and for her to give, she's only 13, nearly 14. So for her to, it's not really cool to go and see any like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I knew that for her, she'd been involved, she'd been at the checkpoints and stuff, and I was really looking forward to seeing her. My wife was going to be there, and obviously Scott and stuff. But when I came in, like, it was, I think, like what you're saying, you're so intensely driven to get to the finish. When you cross it, it's almost like, if you imagine, this is the way I was explaining it to somebody. Imagine squeezing something so tight, you're like, your grip can't give you any more, and then when you finally just let it go, it's almost cramping as it just sort of releases, and it feels, oh wow. It was almost like your full body was in this deep locked cramp, and then it finally just releases all that energy, all that emotion, and I was absolutely overcome. Um, you know, at an unbelievable special moment with my brother. Like I've crewed my brother in I've went, well, 5 events that I can think of. I've went to America with him. I'm blessed that he's asked me, by the way. Like, but I've went with him to America, World's Toughest, race across Scotland, the Ultra 100, the Ultra 50, West Island Way. It's been incredible. So see, for him to then be able to do that for me, the older, unfitter brother, and who's just trying to just give himself, push his boundaries, stuff like that. He looked after me so unbelievably well through the event. So see, when I was able to give him a hug, I was crying, man. Like, it was just pouring out of me. I couldn't even get any words. I couldn't tell him. I
You
couldn't tell.
couldn't stop, Levi. You can't stop.
I couldn't speak. I couldn't tell anybody what I needed to tell them. I then tried to do that latterly in terms of, but I was like you with pictures today. The guy Dan Bentley that captures the pictures, I mean, he catches you at your absolute rawest moment, and I had met him, and no, like nobody else had obviously knew this. I'd met him a previous event Scott did where I was crewing him. I think it was the 50 or something like that, and I told, or the 100 or something, and I told him the story about coming back and I was going to do it and all that, and he recited this to me just before he took my picture. So see, when he gets my picture, you could see in the depths of my eyes, you can see something. Whoa, it's like a black hole, right? I mean, whoa. I mean, there's some shit in those eyes that, whoa.
You see the ones at the end, the pictures at the end, right? Because I've noticed a few of mine, like, and I have left my heart and soul at that race.
Oh,
I've left it there.
Levi, see, when people see this podcast, they'll see in the imaging that I'm using for the podcast. I've used both for pictures and
Aye.
that we took for Dan Bailey. But some of the pictures that we both had with our family and stuff at the finish line and different things, it's 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 pain, it's sacrifice, it's joy, it's elation, it is pride. It's unbelievable. It's fucking raw. It's uncut. It's powerful, man. It does amazing.
I couldn't Hazel, right? And the first things I said was, that was really hard. That was really hard. That was it. I couldn't say anything else. And it was in a tearful voice. I'm going, that was really hard. Because it was solid. It was solid.
See if you like. What do you think is the best lesson or message that this story, your story of you doing this and the journey to get there and get it done and everything, what would you say would be the best lesson or message that others could take from this?
I know personally, right? So everything you're going through within your life, you know what I mean? As I said, all the different journeys that I've been on, like, there's a lot more to give that you just don't know that you have. You just don't know that you have until you try it.
Yeah.
Remember the things that you see a lot of times of, like, what happens if this doesn't work? What happens if that doesn't work? What happens if it does? Do you know what? It happened. It absolutely happened, and there's more to give. This just simple as you're broken. You're broken for a while, but it's not stopped, is it? It's just, I think we're just incredible to find out and just to keep pushing ourselves, and it's just, I think it's fantastic. Yeah, I just think you just dig deep inside yourself, and you've got a lot more there, a lot more than what people you would think. So, and everybody has, we have, and we've pushed ourselves over the past 4, 5, 6 years, like, and if we rewind to 5 years ago or something, like, from where we are now, we are proper lunatics.
Yeah, we are. But we are an example to a lot of people. After the conversation with a couple of guys who didn't finish the race,
Yeah.
and they went off strong, they went off well, they passed me. I'll be honest, I knew I would see them again. I knew I would see them again because I knew that we have, I now have the answers to those questions. I now know how brave I can be. I now know what I'm willing to do, what I'm willing to endure. I knew that I now know we both have that. And I think the going get tough for a lot of people, and the answers to the questions at that moment will know the answers that they were looking for. Now, I hope maybe some of them will listen to this. And I know, and one of those people certainly were really, really analysing before it and all that, about pacing, placing, all that sort of things. And I think sometimes you just need to make sure that you give yourself loads of evidence before it, that you absolutely are who you say you are, and you, as Scott says, do your best. Do your best. Your best will be good enough, but if you have to do your best. But I would say, first of all, on yours, I love the reframing. Good old Mind Masters King's Club lesson in there, about it's easy to go out and look for the reasons you can't, but equally the reasons you can are out there too. So what you go out into the world today and find, if you start your day today on this beautiful Saturday and you say to yourself, everyone's shite, I've had a shit week and everyone else are up, that's equally available as, do you know what, this week hasn't been so good, but today's going to be a good day.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something that actually makes me happy. I'm going to be around the right person. I'm going to do the right thing, blah, 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 blah. In essence, that's what you did with this. You said to yourself, I am going to make sure that I get everything that I want from this. I am going to do it. And you have absolutely put a lesson into the world that there is so much more in you than you think.
Yeah, 100%. You've got to turn up committed as well. You can't enter these things half-assed. We can't. But do you know what? See, my first attempt of the DNF, whatever it was, right? I had to go through that. To understand what you actually have to put the work in to get the result out. And it just gave me wasn't even so much as the confidence. Well, in fact, the confidence to see it. As I said, throughout it, the second win 2 days after I failed the first time, from there on in, not once did I say I'm not doing this. Not once did I say I'm not finishing it. I am finishing it, and I'm finishing it.
Yeah.
And I want to put everything in there to know that when I come off there, I've left everything on the line. There's one picture when I turn around and my face, I do look really, really old because I've just left my heart and soul in that race.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's,
yeah,
you know what I mean? So
I think, well, I know my lesson is because I said it to my daughter. Again, it was a beautiful sort of, well, I felt it, maybe she didn't, shut up, Dad. But I certainly felt there was a beautiful moment, and I spoke to my daughter and I said to her, I hope the one thing you take from this, because she got to see her dad doing an incredibly difficult thing, and a lot of people didn't manage to do it. And I said to her, I hope you can take from this that there's going to be tough times in your life are going to come where you are going to, every single bit in you is going to question why you're doing it. It's going to make you want to stop, want to quit. But when that comes, do not give in, because look what's lying at the other side of that decision. I mean, you and I are getting to sit now, despite all our injuries, all our setbacks, all our problems, all our challenges, and we both did it. It doesn't matter what place we were, what our time was, we both did it. We proved to ourselves that we did it. Now, because of that very thing, when we are faced with difficult things in future, the much stronger possibility that we won't quit.
yeah,
And I think you cannot put a price on that. That, and also when we are giving advice to our kids and our grandkids or our partners or whatever, we can confidently tell them, I know it's tough right now. I know, like, blah, 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 but on the other side of this, you can become so much stronger. You could be, you could become happy or whatever it is, because we've got evidence of this right now.
Yeah, listen, pain fades. It just faded. The pain. Well, that's probably the most painful things, especially with my feet and legs. And like the 4 days after, I'm falling in and out of unconsciousness. Pain fades,
Absolutely.
and you come out, and then, but it wouldn't fade if that was another and not finished for myself. That would take a long time to get over, but it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening.
So probably point that leads on nicely then. So how's things been since then? Because I know how the fuck I've felt. So what do you do? Physically and mentally, how have you been?
Physically now I'm fine. As like I said, I've got 2 toenails left. The rest of them are gone. My little toes took a right batter, and they're now repaired. My feet are repaired. I've done 2 5Ks this week in the first run, and so my legs have got they're so empty. They're so empty. Struggled with it, to be honest. Well, I didn't struggle with it. I just felt, oh, do you know what I mean? And I think that's just because, like, I kind of feel empty at the minute because I have no goals. But I'm happy where I am. My goals for next year is just, as I said, I'm going to take the year off, do a lot more volunteering, and look after take Hazel out a lot more, because she's been through a lot of gripe over the past 2 years. But I'm going to, yeah. At the moment, you kind of feel a little bit lost. I mean, look, it's 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and we're chatting on it. We usually up in the mountains. And is this the third weekend? Is it, or is it the second? Is it the third?
Good.
Third weekends we haven't been on the hills. That's really good.
It's
What about yourself?
no, but just on that, nothing prepares. You can't train for this part.
No, you
Can't
cannot.
train. What you're talking about, you remember when we had Aldo Kane on the Fads page for
Yeah.
a podcast, and he talks about the adventurer's itch. Now, everyone gets this, but after a period of an intense high, then there's a massive drop off the cliff.
Yeah.
Now, most normal people do get it. Some people don't get it. But this is my first major experience of it. And Danny was sort of explaining, I was saying that I need to have this conversation with her because I don't want her to think that it's a reflection of that I'm unhappy in my life, because that's not the case. I'm really happy in my life, but I felt completely lost. And what she explained was it wasn't just about the race, it is because you've went from relentless training 6 days a week. You and I have had a Friday off for as long as we can remember. A Friday, that's it. We train every other day, as well as we both, we don't have, well, no, working in the fitness industry and things like that, where we can just, we can train. We are 2 senior level, business sort of back management guys, and really, really, really busy in that respect. So we've then got to fit in all that whole thing. So that was our lives for as long as we can remember. And then, like you say, you just went, event stops, body's broken. I mean, I couldn't walk for 2 weeks. I was at work in work boots. Couldn't put my feet in the ground properly. Everybody's saying that I was looking like I'd shit myself. I couldn't. And I'm sitting in my office as well, and I'm like, what am I going to do?
Like, if I was walking about like Coco the Clown with my size 11s on, the only things that fitted me.
I couldn't. You don't know what. So you don't know how to articulate it, because it sounds like you're just being morbid. You don't know how to speak about it. Like, how do you say that I just feel totally lost? But you do. You really just, you don't. And even now, so I've been cycling. Oh my God. Anyway, I've been cycling. I'm starting to walk normal, but all the things that had gone on before the race, I mean, I had a cortisol injection in my pubic joint a week and a half before the event. I mean, strictly speaking, aye. I mean, the consultant went, "Are you sure you should be doing this?" And I was like, "I'm doing it." It's 100%. It is on. Thankfully, it never really came in. But all of those things have now came to roost. I need to deal with these things. So I can't run. That, I need to allow that to heal. So right now it's walking, it's cycling. Danny and we're going to do the West Highland Way next May. But I'm like, what, I need a goal. I've worked with goals in my life for, 6-7 years, and I am the goals guy. I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of men following goals on my solid advice that having goals in your life is the only way. And
we don't have one.
I've got none. I'm like, so I'm now noticing myself. I'm starting to look at little videos and things, and I'm starting to go, what will I do next year? Where do you go for a 220-mile race across your whole country? Where do you go for that?
Up the way.
It's a challenge, mate. It's a challenge, and I guess anybody that's preparing for anything big, any massive goal, prepare yourself for what comes after that. And I think the only thing that counters, and I think me and you are the same, the only thing that really counters that is being able to have people to talk to you about it, and being really, really busy. Don't be not busy. So be busy. I fill my time with work and obviously.
Well, I'm lucky now. I said I'm coming through a busy period with work anyway, so that will take my time, and I really need to concentrate on it. So that's fine.
Yeah, I've been the same. But
so it's but I definitely need I'm definitely, like as I said, I'm not having a goal for next year, but it's going to be a 2-year plan. Definitely, if I can get into, and I'll say if I can get into the volunteering for the Cape Wrath Ultra, I will be there for 2026. If I can get into that, just because it's and I want to try and volunteer for it next year, so I can get the entry for the year after, and see what it's like actually.
Yeah.
But and that'll be and for that, because it's May 2026, so I can start training for it next year. But I'll not have a goal for next year. Do you know what I mean? Be a 2-year plan.
We'll see how that develops, Levi.
I know.
Because
I'm starting to look now. I'm just putting things in our chat and that, and I'm going, oh, look at this. I know.
Anybody watching this or listening to this, Levi this morning was dropping races for next year into our little chat. So that's usually a telltale sign. Usually what you're doing is you drop a pair of trainers in, or you drop a race into the chat so that someone else does the deed, so that you're not the only one. So I definitely think I'll need one. I did two races in 2024. The Arran Ultra, 2-dayer, and Race Across Scotland, and they both were
your two biggest races. Do you know what I mean?
Two main goals, two main races, and they both were executed perfection in my mind. I felt fantastic, so I'm really, really chuffed with that. What I feel like I'm leaning towards is maybe having one big one, next year. Do the West Highland Way with Annie, have one main race.
Would you apply for the West Highland Way race?
Well, that is an itch that hasn't been scratched, because I have always said I want that goblet. That goblet feels like, in Scotland, it's like a must-have.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Scott sort of mooted once that he might go back to the West Highland Way next year, and how epic would that be to be in the same race as my brother, and know that I would see him. But it would be pretty epic to be on a start line with him, and hopefully get like a iconic race like done. But I don't know if that's still the case for him. But that might be. I might find myself in that ballot. But also, there are things out there that interest me that aren't races. During COVID, I don't know if you remember, I was preparing to do I was going to try and do the fastest known time on the Ayrshire Coastal Path.
Oh yeah,
And then it got pulled because we weren't allowed to go down into other councils and stuff. So that stands. Alistair Meldrum holds that. And I think it's 23 hours something. And a little bit of me is drawn to the idea of going for that. I think that would be pretty cool and get all the boys involved and doing parts of the run with me and stuff like that. So maybe something like that. That Disney cost me a fortune and race entries and stuff like
that. Because it's an expensive game.
Oh,
it's an expensive game.
Let's not talk too much about that one.
It's quite cheap. It's just like a night out.
Yeah. I think you and I were talking about that just before the race. The two of us were actually fed up with it. We were fed up with we need more nutrition, we need more kit, we were absolutely depressed by it.
Well, that's what I mean. I need to take you somewhere nice for 50th next year. So if I'm not buying into all these races, I'll take you somewhere really nice.
Good man. Right. What an epic conversation. I think we've covered a lot of things that hopefully people will enjoy listening to. I think we've been at this for just over 2 hours, I think, so we could have did 10 hours easy because there's so much to tell you guys about this, but I really, really hope this is a really good insight into mindset and just two normal guys' journey to overcome despite everything that we were faced with. But yeah, what I will say is I'll share Levi's socials and stuff like that. Maybe if you're following him and stuff, on his journey. We both met through Fit Ayrshire Dad, so I'll also share the Fit Ayrshire Dad's page for maybe any guys out there that want to know, about a free community that exists out there for guys to help you, the way it's helped us too, with your fitness and your mental health and just your happiness. But Levi, thanks very much, mate, for coming on.
It's been brilliant.
It's took one of your chats and it's just put it out there for the world to hear.
But this kind of closes our journey now. This now closes our journey from 2 years of craft. This is the end off, and now, do you know what I mean? It's been brilliant.
Ready with the pen and the paper, ready to write the next chapter. Because that's what it is. Life is just one big book full of loads of different chapters.
Adventurous. It's adventurous.
It is, man. And I like our lives are going to take us in different journeys and involving our family, friends, our body, our fitness, all the different stuff. And I personally, I am never going to put the pen down until I'm done. I am just going to keep writing chapters.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. Aye.
All right, man.
Look forward to our adventures.
So cheers, everyone. Aye. So cheers, everyone, for listening. And if you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it, stick it on your socials, tell other people about it. There's loads of other episodes in there that I know you'll love as well. Thanks for joining us, and I'll catch you next time.